name is Maryann Lombardi. I'm the Associate Director for the Creative Affairs Office here in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the Care for Creatives Community Conversation Series on mental health. Care for Creatives is a partnership between the DC Creative Affairs Office and the George Washington University, which provides pay-what-you-can mental health supports to any creative and entrepreneur in the DC area who needs it. You can find more information about Care for Creatives and how to receive care on our website at creativeaffairsdc.com. I want to thank you for being here today for a wonderful conversation on small business and mental health with our two guests, Violetta Markelou, who is a photographer and visual artist, as well as Dr. Mary DeRaedt, who runs the counseling program at the George Washington University. Thank you both for being here so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So, Violetta, do you think you could tell us just a little bit about your practice and your work as a visual artist and photographer?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a photographer and visual artist. Been doing that for about 20 years. And the visual artist part is I have a background in makeup. I was a makeup artist for many years, and also, looking at photography through fashion magazines. So style and fashion is an integral part of the process. So when someone comes to me and, wants me to create an image for them or to help shape their image, makeup and wardrobe and styling is all part of it. And I have a team of people that help me make that happen. So I've been doing that. And also like to say I'm in the self-esteem building business because being in front of the camera is very uncomfortable for 99% of people. And so getting to the photo shoot is very stressful. So when they come in, I do my best to help disarm them and help them feel empowered to help them create the image that they want for themselves and their business. So yeah, I'm pretty blessed to do that.
Oh, that sounds really wonderful. And it's as somebody who would go in to work with you, it sounds really wonderful that you think about that, about how uncomfortable people can be and really work to help them feel more confident in front of the camera. That's really fantastic.
Thank you.
So you're also a small business owner. How did your practice sort of develop from, the makeup artist, fashion side into photography into this growing small business?
So after college, I was, waiting tables, also working at a makeup counter. And, there was no one that gave me the blueprint of how to start a business. But I thought, it's a good idea, obviously, to shadow other established photographers. And once I did that, I then realized, what it is, what my specialty is. And, I just started very small. I started, creating an LLC and just, still waited tables, but I had, I met people through my job and, referrals. So I just had one client after the other, and it just started very small like that. But again, there was no help really from anyone how to start anything. I just knew I had to establish myself legally and then go from there. So, yeah.
So, Dr. Mary, can you explain a little bit about your practice and the work that you do at GW and how this Care for Creatives program was developed?
Sure. So one of the ways in which I practice right now is through private practice, where I see clients on a regular basis. And then I also am the director of the school counseling program at GW. And at GW, we have a clinic that is associated with our master's and doctoral program. And at that clinic, we offer services for people in the community. And after speaking with you and Maryann and seeing a need in the community for support for people who are creatives and suffering exponentially due to COVID, but in general needing services, we combined with the city to create this program that allows people to come and work with our clinicians in our Community Counseling Services Center and receive services at a pay-what-you-can rate, which I think is one of the most important aspects, that you don't have to pay a lot. You can afford this counseling.
That's fantastic. It's been such a wonderful resource for folks. So I'm really thankful for GW for being a part of that. Violetta, when this pandemic originally hit, how have you been able to navigate that and yourself personally as an artist and a small business owner?
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously pretty difficult. I mean, I think, it's kind of like the stages of grief. You kind of go through shock and that kind of settles in, and then you just baby steps. So the first month I wasn't really doing much and just definitely got into a little bit of a paralysis mode, and definitely noticed myself getting depressed, and I knew that was not the way I wanted to continue going. And I started just to dive deeper into my meditation practice and my yoga practice, and to help me with stress. And while I was doing that, I got a couple of flashes of a vision of a face, and I saw some text, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And I called up a couple other friends who are small businesses as well, and they said a couple of things that really set off a light bulb aha moment in my mind. And I realized that what they said, and then the vision that I got through my meditation, that I need to start photographing other people that are going through this transition from a small business to trying to save your business, to try to repivot, to pivot your business. I just realized at that moment I do have to step outside and create this photographic series one by one. So I just started calling, friends of mine who are small businesses and entrepreneurs, and asked them, can I take your portrait and record your voice and tell your story? And I started doing that at the end of April. So I would say a month and a half of, being down and a little bit depressed and not knowing where to go, to just having this overwhelming feeling of, wait, I need to start creating again, to not only help myself, but then also to tell the story of my, my community, what was going on. Because I think that especially at that time, the focus was not on the small business community. I think there's more talk about it now, but in the beginning, it was kind of like, everyone was scrambling and, every man for themselves type of situation. So yeah, that's how I've been navigating it. And I am actually photographing someone today to be part of the series. So the series is ongoing. But creating this series, daily meditation, yoga practice, and other things, this is how I've been coping. Yes.
Yeah, when it comes to the series, so it's called Inbox Full, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about what the reaction was like when you actually started to reach out to some of these peers of yours, and you said, "Hey, can we talk, and can I photograph you?" What was the response like?
Oh, they were more than happy to do it. They said, "Oh my God, thank you. This is great. Sure." Nobody said, "No, I don't want to do it." No, I mean, everybody said, "No, I really want you to tell people what's going on, because I don't think people realize that I'm this close to going under, or I have to maybe fire, 5 employees who have families that depend on them. This is very, very stressful." And also they were afraid of getting sick or making their family sick. I mean, it's a huge thing. I mean, there are people trying to save their business, putting themselves in harm's way to save the jobs for other people. It's not just themselves. Yeah, it's a big, big stressful thing they were going through. And so everybody was overwhelmingly said, "I would love to do it." And they just, they trusted me, which is a big, which is, a wonderful thing, that they trusted me with their image and their voice. And once they saw how I was laying it out, and they said, "Oh, this is awesome." And it just kept growing. And it continues. Obviously, I'm doing a shoot today. So yeah, the response has been overwhelmingly very positive, thankfully.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. Dr. Mary, I'm interested in the fact that, as Violetta's talked about, she went through some yoga practice, and so she had some sort of resources or skills or abilities to help manage the strain that she's going through, and then took action, right? And so I'm really interested in the power of that from a therapeutic perspective. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about why and how that helps.
Yeah. No, I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of her story, this moment of realization and vision and then action. And quite often what ends up happening is that depression and anxiety in times of difficulty can paralyze us. Mentally speaking, when you feel that there's no outlet, where there's no place to go or nothing to do, then you feel so stuck that you dive further and further into anxiety and depression. And so there is a huge value to just taking a step, doing something new, getting out of the kind of rut that you've been in, and trying, even, doing that extra step of meditating and yoga and getting yourself moving and doing something new just has an immense value on people's mental health. It releases endorphins. It improves mood. It gives you more of that capacity to go forward. There's a momentum to it. Once you start moving, that momentum keeps you moving. And with that momentum comes a reduction usually in the feelings of depression and anxiety.
Yeah, that's so great. So, Violetta, I'm interested in, as you've continued to stay in touch with these small business owners that you've been photographing and speaking to and interviewing, sort of how have you seen them navigate over time, the changes in their business, or how they're pivoting, or how they're moving forward, or even the state of how they're feeling about what's going on? Have you seen a change over time with them?
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm so proud of everybody that I photographed. I mean, everybody just really pivoted in a way and just, used their talents and their creative mind to just turn their business around and have new ideas, ways to offer new things to their customers, just working around all this chaos. And they have, just gone forward in so many positive ways. There isn't anyone that totally went the other way. They really all have persevered in incredible ways. And there could be a series 2 to this in terms of revisiting everybody and kind of where they're at now, so people can see what their emotions were at the beginning when I interviewed them and what they are now. But no, everybody has pivoted and gone forward, and I'm happy to say in really, really positive ways. So thankfully no one's gone under right now.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in the experience for artists and a lot of artists who are small business owners, the power of how tightly their identity is tied to their work as a creative, as an artist. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that for yourself, because when all of this is stripped away by a pandemic or by, what other forces, sort of what that does to the identity when it's so tied.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I try to explain to people. There are, have been some people in my circle, and I love them dearly, but when they were, I guess sharing their fears with me about going outside, and I just knew that I had to keep myself at a level where I had to listen to myself and not other people, and knowing that I have to create. I can't stop creating, or else I will not be well mentally. So I think this is a time to do that. Yes, you have to discuss things with your friends and family, but you also have to really listen to your true self. And as an artist, we are really, what we do is who we are. It's not a job. So it is everything to us. So taking that away, you feel like you lose yourself. And that's just something I didn't want to happen. So I just, I put the fear to the side and said, I have to create this body of work. This is an overwhelming feeling. And I'm really, really glad I did, because I'm sitting here with you now and with Dr. Mary, and we're moving forward with this conversation, which is very, very important. But yeah, I have to say that I think everyone's a creative. I don't want to say for non-creatives to understand this. I think everybody is creative, but especially for us artists, I mean, yes, what we do is just ingrained within us, and it's very hard to. There's no separation really. So we have to just be able to harness that to our fullest degree, and step outside of that paralysis to keep creating.
Yeah. So, Dr. Mary, I'm interested in kind of what's happening on a sort of therapeutic brain level around that identity, so tied to a certain thing, right? Like, and I'm wondering sort of what's happening there.
Yeah, I think what occurs to me as I'm listening to Violetta is that there is this core of who we are, right? There's this core of who we are as a person, and then there are these identities where we express that of who we are. And in hearing your story, you talk about how you are a creative and you had this identity as an entrepreneur with your creativity. And when that aspect of your identity was blocked and you weren't able to flow, that aspect of who you are as a creative wasn't able to flow through that identity, you found another way to flow, right? You found another direction in which to allow that core sense of self as a creative to come out, and in essence created a new identity for yourself within the other one. So I think what happens for us is that we have these roles we play in our lives, and they are all aspects of our identity. And yet we have the core of who we are that expresses itself in those. And so when we have the flexibility as a human being to recognize that when one of those identities is blocked, when one of those expressions of ourself are blocked, we have the option to pivot and to invest in other aspects, right? To redirect some of the energy that is blocked in this direction into another one. Whether that's using our core as a self, as a creative in our family, or using it in a new creative venture, or however we choose to redirect it, that flow of self into this kind of fluid concept of identity is so important. And that's definitely what I hear. And I hear also in the story this kind of amazing experience where Violetta allowed that flow to go in a new direction. And then because of that, she opened the door for other creatives to allow that flow to go in a new direction as well, to have this other expression of that. And so there's this continuing sense of an evolution of identity through the recognition of new outlets and new expressions.
Yeah, I think you really hit it right there. You said the key word. You said evolution, and I think if we keep creating, we do keep evolving, which is very, very, very important, and it's an absolute necessity for me. We talked about this in another conversation. I mean, the choice to create or not is actually not even a choice when it's so ingrained in you and tied within you. So it's seems to be sometimes a blessing and a curse, but it's more of a blessing than anything, because again, I evolved and moved forward, and now I'm having this conversation with you that hopefully hundreds and thousands of people might listen to and also evolve themselves.
When you think about what's coming next, and an entirely new year ahead of us all, what is getting you excited about that, or sort of what are you thinking about or looking forward to as you move forward with your work and personally?
If you told me in the beginning of this, hey, you're going to be a mental health advocate, I mean, I wouldn't have said, oh, that's a stretch. No, I mean, because I know myself and I care about these things, and I educate myself on these things. So I was like, that's awesome, but how? So I think going forward, and keeping this conversation going with you and other people, that's what makes me excited, is just to keep making people aware that this is extremely important. Just not just to get past this thing that we're going through, but just to keep evolving and just keep expanding our awareness as human beings. So that makes me excited. The possibilities of what we can do if we keep on this path of mental health and being more open with it, especially in this country. I'm not sure it's ever really been spoken about as much as I kind of hear now. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to play music for people again soon. I'll be starting my radio show again soon. I used to play at the Line Hotel, but I'll be doing that virtually, and that's exciting, just to introduce people to music and play music for people again. And we'll see where this series goes. I think there will be a phase 2 with it, so I can revisit everybody and see where they are now, and hopefully an exhibition. And that could hopefully tie into an entire campaign on mental health and supporting our small businesses, and just understanding how, as an ecosystem, and we're all connected, and we need to support each other. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
That sounds fantastic. Well, Dr. Mary, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us and giving a little bit of your expertise on this subject. And Violetta, thank you as well. And I look forward to speaking with you both really, really soon again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.